so often. Like what she did, she made the extraordinary so ordinary.
Yeah.
Like when you think about that, like where she shot from ease and still does. But were any of you here when she broke the record from here? The way, I mean, she just came out, bam, bam, bam. It's like you could.
Did you catch that? Jan Jensen just admitted Caitlin Clark made the extraordinary look ordinary. But here's the wild part. That's not even the most shocking thing she said. What she reveals later about Caitlin's massive transformation is going to absolutely blow your mind. And by the time this video is over, you'll understand exactly why the Indiana Fever front office might have made the biggest mistake in WNBA history. Most people think they know what happened to Caitlin Clark's game between college and the pros. They're wrong. And what Jan Jensen spills about those iconic logo threes, that changes everything.
Came down. I'll never forget it. This place was like, boom. She came down and you could see she kind of wanted to throw the run out to Hannah Stuelke.
Yeah.
But then she was kind of covered, but she came and had a little behind the back and
move.
let that thing launch. And then when that thing hit and it broke the record, I think
Wow. Okay, so Jan just described the moment Caitlin broke the record. And get this, she's not just talking about a basketball shot. She's describing something that made Carver Arena absolutely explode, louder than it had ever been before. And here's what most people completely missed. Jan says Caitlin made that look easy, and it's anything but. That's the key phrase right there. Because what the Fever took away from Caitlin wasn't just her shooting style. They stripped away the entire identity that made her the most electric player in basketball history. And trust me, we're about to dive into exactly how that happened and why it's causing some serious problems right now.
I'd be lucky
if he hits this, he will never, ever
I'm
let
telling
us
you
know
right
that.
now.
Look at how far that is, guys.
Another basketball.
I know. I believe in you. Looks good. Yeah! That's who he is right there.
That is so good, Diamond Powell.
That was great.
Hashtag athlete.
So they're literally standing at the exact spot where Caitlin launched that record-breaking shot, and Jan's reaction tells you everything you need to know. I haven't seen anybody do it first try. You have to understand, Jan Jensen has coached at Iowa for over 2 decades. She's seen thousands of players attempt that shot, and she's never witnessed anyone else nail it on the first try. Not even close. But here's the kicker, that's the exact range Caitlin was shooting from all season at Iowa. Those logo threes weren't flukes. They weren't just for show. They were her actual game. Her competitive advantage, the very thing that made her unstoppable. And Stephanie White's coaching staff told her to stop. Think about that for a second. The Fever took the most dangerous weapon in women's basketball and locked it in a vault. We're going to break down exactly why that decision backfired. But first, you need to hear what Lisa Bluter reveals about Caitlin's mindset.
As a coach who'd been in the same building space city, but watching everything blow up.
It was rewarding.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's what you dream of, right? It's what you want, what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. And it really hit me when we had the crossover in Kinnick. You know, people have asked me, like, you know, what were your highlight moments? And, you know, I mean, certainly the championship games were highlight moments. But the crossover in Kinnick to me is more meaningful because we took over.
Lisa Bluter just dropped a bombshell right there. She said the crossover game at Kinnick Stadium was more meaningful than the championship games. Let that sink in for a second. More meaningful than competing for a national title. Why? Because over 55,000 people showed up to watch women's basketball in a football stadium. Women were openly crying in the audience because of what it represented. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Lisa is describing the Caitlin Clark effect at its absolute peak. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. This was a cultural moment, a movement, and the emotion in Lisa's voice when she talks about it, you can hear it. She's getting chills just remembering it. Now watch what happens when she starts talking about coaching Caitlin behind the scenes. Because what she reveals next completely changes how you'll view Caitlin's rookie WNBA season.
I think the best part about coaching Caitlin was just seeing her behind the scenes, you know, just being a part of her life, off the basketball court too. I mean, the basketball court provided all the wow moments, right? I mean, I got wow moments in practice, seeing some of the things that she did, the passes she made, and the scoring, and just the lack of fear that she had. But to me, the highlights is probably the fun times, being in COVID and.
Did you catch that shift? Lisa just went from talking about wild basketball moments to something way more important. The highlights is probably the fun times. She's talking about the goofy Caitlin, the one who laughs hard and loves big. And then she drops this bomb. When she gets your trust, she loves big. That's not just coach speak. That's Lisa telling you Caitlin Clark is someone who builds deep loyalty with people she trusts. Which, by the way, makes what happened with the Fever's coaching situation even more complicated. Because here's what nobody's connecting. Caitlin spent 4 years building that trust with Lisa and Jan. 4 years of inside jokes, COVID lockdowns in San Antonio, living by live, love, laugh, lucky until they made the Sweet 16. That's family. That's the foundation of who Caitlin became as a player. And then she gets drafted to Indiana, and within 1 season, everything flips. New coach, new system, new expectations. But wait until you hear what Lisa says about the toughest part of coaching Caitlin. This is where it gets really interesting.
The toughest part is sometimes she can be a little stubborn, and as I can be as well. And so that can be this sometimes, but the good thing is that she was always willing to learn, and she wanted to be her best. So she would take it. She took coaching, like she wanted to be coached. But the hardest thing, and I've said this before, is that the transformation from high school to college, I don't think was really easy for her. She didn't understand how to play with other teammates because in high school, she did everything, on her own.
Okay, this is wild. Lisa just admitted Caitlin was stubborn, and so was she. 2 stubborn people trying to work together? That's a recipe for fireworks. But then she reveals something most people completely missed about Caitlin's game. The transformation from high school to college wasn't easy because Caitlin genuinely didn't understand how to play with teammates. She could win games by herself in high school, so why would she need to change? And here's the moment that's gonna blow your mind. Caitlin literally said to Lisa, "Well, they're not shooting as much as I am," and Lisa's response, "Well, you're not bringing them to the gym with you." That's tough love right there. That's a coach calling out a superstar for not elevating her teammates. But here's what makes this so important for understanding the Fever situation. Lisa is describing a learning process that took years of teaching Caitlin how to be a great teammate, how to embrace other players, how to share the spotlight, and by the time Caitlin left Iowa, Lisa says she had become a great teammate. You could see the camaraderie, the joy for each other. So if Caitlin already learned those lessons at Iowa, what exactly was the problem in her rookie season? Why did the narrative suddenly become about her needing to adjust? We're about to connect some dots that most people completely miss.
WNBA.
Yeah, I'm a Chicago girl, so I don't make Michael Jordan comparisons very often, but there are a few things that stand out, whether that's the famous practice where her team was down and she came back and whatever it was, scored an insane number of points in 1 minute. We've heard about that with Jordan and the Dream Team practices, or if it's figuring out how to harness competitiveness and a desire for everyone to be as good as you are into making people better instead of frustrating them or condescending them. And we've seen that journey for her. It's really hard. It's not an easy thing to do, especially as a young person, but that ability to turn that into greatness instead of something that holds you back clearly is something she's continuing to work on, and it's just going to make her even better and better.
Lisa Bluter just made a Michael Jordan comparison. Think about that for a second. She doesn't make those comparisons often, and she's from Chicago, so that means something. And what she's comparing is absolutely huge. The famous practice where Caitlin's team was down, and she came back to score an insane number of points in 1 minute, just like Jordan in those legendary Dream Team practices. But then Lisa reveals the real parallel, figuring out how to harness that competitiveness and the desire for everyone to be as good as you are. That's the real Jordan trait, not just the scoring or the highlights, but the ability to make everyone around you better without frustrating them or talking down to them. And here's what's so important about this. Lisa says it's really hard to do, especially as a young person. It's not an easy thing, but Caitlin was actively working on it. She was getting better at it, which means when Caitlin got to the Fever, she wasn't some raw talent who didn't know how to lead. She was someone who had already gone through years of development. She had already learned those lessons. So when people criticized her rookie season for not making her teammates better, they were ignoring everything Lisa Bluder just told us. The foundation was already there, something else was going on, and what Lisa says about the toxicity around the Caitlin Angel Reese rivalry is going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about that first WNBA season.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I was disappointed in that because there is so much else to talk about. And these are two young women that are just starting their careers and, don't need that extra pressure or that extra, they don't need that. I mean, it was all created by the media.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunate for those two players. So I'm really sad that happened because I don't want the WNBA to get attention or get viewership because of those type of things. I want it to get viewership because of the great play, the great game that we have. Let's support that and quit talking about this other stuff.
Lisa just said she was disappointed, not surprised, but disappointed. And listen to how she frames it. There is so much else to talk about, and these are two young women that are just starting their careers and don't need that extra pressure. But here's the line that should make everyone stop and think. It was all created by the media. All of it. The rivalry, the toxicity, the narrative that these two players hated each other. All manufactured. And Lisa's reason for being sad about it? She doesn't want the WNBA to get attention or viewership because of drama. She wants people watching because of great play, because of the great game. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. While the media was busy creating this fake rivalry, while they were generating millions of views from manufactured drama, something real was being destroyed. Caitlin Clark's actual game was being compromised. Her identity as a player was being stripped away, and nobody was paying attention because they were too busy arguing about whether she was better than Angel Reese. This is classic misdirection. Keep everyone focused on the fake controversy while the real story unfolds in the shadow. And that real story is about what happened to Caitlin's playing style between Iowa and Indiana.
So often, like what she did, she made the extraordinary so ordinary.
Yeah.
Like when you think about that, like where she shot from East and still does. But were any of you here when she broke the record from here? The way, she just came out, bam, bam, bam. It's like you could just see her calculate.
So, guys, I've been to Carver Arena. I witnessed this number 22 in person, my own two eyes, and it's hella far. It's damn near a half-court shot. Like if you guys could just see the sheer distance Caitlin Clark shoot from is jaw-dropping. And I feel like that is the excitement we need back. See, that's what the Indiana Fever front office took away from us. They took away that 22 on the floor. That's what they took away.
Now let's go back to what Jan Jensen said at the very beginning, because it hits different now. She made the extraordinary so ordinary when you think about where she shot from and still does. But notice that pause, and still does. That's Jan catching herself, because the truth is Caitlin doesn't shoot from there as much anymore. Not with the Fever, not in the WNBA, and Jan knows it. You can hear it in her voice. She came down, made that behind the back pass, launched that thing, and it broke the record, made Carver Arena explode, made it look easy. But here's what Jan is really telling us. That version of Caitlin, the one who made the extraordinary ordinary, the one who launched from the logo without hesitation, that's the version Iowa fans fell in love with. That's the version that broke records. And that's the version the Fever tried to change. Now let me ask you something. If you had the most dangerous shooter in basketball history, someone who could hit from ranges nobody else could even attempt, would you tell her to stop shooting from there? Would you ask her to play more conservatively? More within the system, because that's exactly what happened. And the evidence is in the statistics, the shot charts, and the way Caitlin's game evolved, or more accurately, devolved during her rookie season.
I think the best part about coaching Caitlin was just seeing her behind the scenes. Just being a part of her life off the basketball court too. The basketball court provided all the wow moments, right? I got wow moments in practice, seeing some of the things that she did, the passes she made, and the scoring, and just the lack of fear that she had. But to me, the highlights is probably the fun times, being in COVID and going down to San Antonio and being locked in the La Quinta Hotel with your team.
Excuse me, I'm sure it wasn't Inns and Suites.
We had a slogan: "Live, love, life, La Quinta."
Amazing.
And that's what we lived by till we got to move over to the Marriott.
Lisa Bluter is describing something most people never got to see, the behind-the-scenes Caitlyn, the one in COVID lockdown in San Antonio at the La Quinta Inn, living by live, love, laugh, lucky, the goofy Caitlyn who's not putting on a show, just being herself, one of the most enjoyable people to be around, funny, laughs hard, loves big. And here's why this matters so much. That environment, that team culture, that's where Caitlyn thrived. That's where she became the player who broke records and filled stadium. It wasn't just about basketball skills. It was about trust, about joy, about feeling free to be herself on and off the court. Now contrast that with her rookie WNBA season. New city, new teammates who didn't know her, a media circus everywhere she went, manufactured rivalries, constant criticism, physical play that went way beyond normal rookie treatment, and a coaching staff that wanted her to play differently than she had for 4 years. You know what happens when you take someone out of an environment where they thrived and drop them into chaos? They struggle, not because they lost their talent, not because they can't compete at that level, but because everything that made them great, the joy, the trust, the freedom, gets stripped away. And that's exactly what we witnessed in Indiana. Lisa just revealed the hardest lesson they had to teach Caitlyn: how to embrace teammates, how to understand that just because she's shooting more doesn't mean others aren't working as hard. You're not bringing them to the gym with you. That's a powerful coaching moment right there. But here's what makes this so crucial. Lisa says Caitlyn learned those lessons. She learned how to be a great teammate. By the time she left Iowa, Lisa could watch her with the Fever and see camaraderie, see joy for each other, see someone who had internalized those lessons about team basketball. So let's connect this to what Jan Jensen said earlier about the Logo 3. If Caitlyn had already learned how to be a great teammate, if she had already figured out how to balance her individual brilliance with team success, then why would the Fever coaching staff need to change her game? Why would they ask her to shoot less from deep? Why would they try to make her more traditional? The answer is starting to become clear. It wasn't about making her a better teammate. It wasn't about helping her adjust to the pro game. It was about fitting her into a system that wasn't built for someone like her. A system that couldn't handle a player who operated outside normal parameters. And that's where everything started breaking down.
As a coach who'd been in the same building space city, but watching everything blow up.
It was rewarding.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's what you dream of, right? It's what you want, what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. And it really hit me when we had the crossover in Kinnick. You know, people have asked me, like, you know, what were your highlight moments? And, you know, I mean, certainly the championship games were highlight moments. But the crossover in Kinnick to me is more meaningful because we took over Kinnick Stadium. We put a basketball floor down there and invited people to come in. And we had over 55,500 people there. And for that, you know, there was women crying in the audience because they were so moved by what was happening for women's athletics.
Let's revisit what Lisa said about Kinnick Stadium, because there's a deeper meaning here that connects to absolutely everything. She said it was more meaningful than the championship games because of what it represented: 55,000 people showing up for women's basketball, women crying in the audience because they were so moved by what was happening for women's athletics, $250,000 raised for the Children's Hospital. And then this line: it just showed us what we can accomplish when women come together and really support each other. That's not just about a basketball event. That's about a movement. That's about Caitlin Clark becoming bigger than basketball, becoming a symbol of what's possible when you refuse to play small. When you take those logo shots, even though everyone says you shouldn't, when you make the extraordinary look ordinary. And here's what the Fever front office didn't understand: you can't separate Caitlin Clark, the basketball player, from Caitlin Clark, the cultural phenomenon. They're the same person. The Logo 3s aren't just shots. They're a statement. They're the physical manifestation of refusing to be confined by other people's limitations. And when you take those away, when you ask her to play more conservatively, you're not just changing her shot selection. You're asking her to be someone she's not. You're asking her to play small. And that's exactly what happened in Indiana during that first season under the previous coaching staff. So here's what Jan Jensen and Lisa Bluter really revealed in these interviews. and why it matters so much for understanding what's happening with Caitlin Clark right now. They described a player who spent 4 years learning how to harness extraordinary talent within a team framework, someone who went from not understanding how to play with teammates to becoming someone who loves big and builds deep trust, someone who made the extraordinary look ordinary because she had the freedom to be herself. And then she got to the WNBA and everything changed. The Fever's previous coaching staff tried to make her fit a traditional mold. They asked her to pull back on the logo 3, to play more within the system, to be more conservative. And what happens? The joy started disappearing. The freedom started evaporating. The very thing that made her special started getting buried under layers of professional basketball expectation. But here's the thing about generational talents. You can't coach them like everyone else. You can't ask them to fit your system. You have to build your system around them. That's what Lisa Bluter and Jan Jensen understood. That's why Caitlin thrived at Iowa. They didn't try to change her. They gave her the foundation she needed, the lessons about teamwork, about trust, about embracing teammates. And then they let her be extraordinary. They let her launch from the logo. They let her make passes nobody else would even attempt. They let her be Caitlin Clark. And the result? The most dominant college basketball career we've ever seen.